I'm Becky McCoy, and you're listening to Stories of Unfolding Grace, the podcast about grace during unexpected times. You'll hear from real people dealing with hard stuff, and I hope you'll feel encouraged that you can bravely live through hard stuff too. Today I'm talking with Heather Bender, writer at Dirty Floors, Happy Kids. This episode is really raw and really intense, and it's not really suitable for young listeners. Heather talks about an unplanned pregnancy and the denial and depression that followed. But what's amazing is that this little baby changed her life forever. I'm here with Heather Bender. And why don't you share a little bit with us about this particularly difficult season that you went through?
I was 23 years old. I was, just getting my start as an adult. I was working full time. I was finishing my degree. I had plans to get into law school. I had recently gotten out of, basically an engagement. And within, I think, 4 months of that, I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't entirely consensual. Without going into a whole lot of detail, basically, I was out with a bunch of people. I think somebody at some point gave me a date rape drug. And a couple months later, wow, here we are. Really scary. And I completely shut down. There's just no other way of stating it. I went into complete denial. Looking back, it seems like an entirely different person, I had completely cut myself off from, my friends, my family. I basically, would talk to my parents when they wanted to know if I was still alive. I mean, it was really, really a terrible time. I remember sitting on my couch, just kind of, staring at the TV, kind of staring into space, trying not to think about anything and falling asleep and waking up and going to work and coming home and starting that whole cycle all over again. I mean, it wasn't really living. Yeah. It went on and on and on for months, and I just got more and more depressed. I wasn't getting medical attention for any of it. And out of desperation, I attempted suicide. I had a lot of wine and a handful of sleeping pills and thought, okay, this won't be too bad. I woke up the next day. And that this isn't even where the grace part comes in. I woke up the next day and instead of, making any changes, I just kept going and going and going. And then it was Valentine's Day, 1997. And, like I said in the piece, I was driving down a highway. I was running Saturday errands, and things started going blurry. I passed out behind the wheel. I got into a car accident, ended up in the hospital. I just remember there were doctors and nurses and lights and beeping and, needles and just all this stuff going on. And, it's really kind of ridiculous the things you focus on in those situations, because I remember they were cutting off my favorite sweater, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Do you really have to do You're 6 months pregnant, and you haven't told anybody, and you're freaking out that they're cutting off your favorite. What the heck?
Right.
So anyway, they just about get me stabilized, and they strap on, the heart monitor for the baby, and I hear the baby's heartbeat, and it's brought everything home, And
was that the first time you heard the heartbeat, or had you heard?
Well, yeah. I mean, I that was what really kind of shook me out of what I had been going through. Hearing that heartbeat and just having it brought home to you, you can't hide from this anymore. This is on. It's happening.
So it sounds like you were living you weren't pregnant. Like, you were just pretending like you weren't, and it was going to go away. And
absolutely. In fact, I remember I had started a new job, like, right before I found out any of this was happening. And after a few months, one of my coworkers pulled me aside and said, "Are you pregnant?" And I looked at her and went, "No, I'm just gaining weight, and I'm kind of offended that you would even ask." I mean, this is like how deep I was. Like, no, why would you even ask me? So anyway, I'm hearing this heartbeat, and I don't know, this wave of peace kind of fell over me. And then my poor mom and brother walk into the trauma room. My mom to this day will talk about this story, and she'll just say, "I will never forget having the hospital call me and say, we want you to know your daughter's been in a car accident, and she's fine and the baby's fine, but we just, you should probably come."
Yeah.
And my was, what? The what? The what is what? So,
man.
It was, my brother was attending one of the military academies at the time, and it was his one weekend that he could come home. and this happens.
Yeah.
So kind of like shocked and upset and all this stuff. And I remember just looking at my mom, and there's the heartbeat in the background, like thump, 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 thump. And I was like, hi. here's
you made it.
Something to tell you.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, it was a lot. She actually handled it really my family as a whole handled it incredibly graciously. So, they get me up to the ICU. They get me at least stabilized. I'm there for about a week, and everybody comes in and visits and talks to me, and we get stabilized, and I end up down in the maternity ward for another 2 weeks. And over the course of that, they realized, you're fine, and miraculously the baby's okay, but you've got gestational diabetes, and the baby's got incredibly low amniotic fluid, and she's got a 50% chance of making it.
Yikes.
Okay, so I've just gotten okay with the fact that I'm pregnant. And now I'm being told, and look, I own all of this. This is all me. But now you're being told, well, you've been through all this, and now you might not have a baby at the end of all of this. So that was hard to take.
Right, because if anyone who was planning on having a child got that news, that would be stressful.
It would be devastating enough.
Right, but on top of all this other chaos.
Yeah, yeah. Now there might not even be any kind of redemption at the end. So, I kind of tried to bear with that the best I could. I eventually got discharged, and they were writing my discharge papers and kind of talking to me. And, I guess one of the nurses who had been with me through the entire process said, "Hey, we were talking to the emergency, the emergency guys when they brought you in, and you're really, really lucky. There was a nurse on the other side of the intersection as the accident was taking place, and she had seen that something wasn't right with you. She saw me kind of slumped over. That woman, who's a complete stranger, I to this day do not know who this is, got out of her car, ran across a highway, like a 4 to 6 lane highway.
Wow.
To come help. You've got a team of strangers saving your life. If that isn't enough to make you realize that,
that's overwhelming.
It's really overwhelming, but it was overwhelmingly positive. So, to feel that kind of, I'm starting through this process to kind of feel more grace and more peaceful and at ease with what's going on. But, I get home to my apartment, and it's, kind of taking stock of the situation. I'm 23. I haven't even finished my degree yet. My career plans are at a total halt. I'm just out of a long-term relationship in this situation where there's absolutely no father present. I lost my job in the hospital. My employer called me to tell me I was fired, which was awesome, right?
Yeah.
So no job, which means I'm not going to have my apartment for much longer. I get to move back home with a new baby, right? And collect unemployment benefits. Winning, right? Like, this could not get any worse.
Yeah. Not at all what you dreamed of your 20s looking like.
No, not at all. Not in the slightest. And, So I stayed home and I rested. There was nothing else I could do. I was on bed rest for the next 3 months, and I just took 3 months to sit and think because there's nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. And spring was coming and things were starting to get sunnier and warmer, and life's coming back, and slowly but surely it started to happen for me. When you're in that kind of situation, you really have to swallow your pride. You don't have any choice but to not just accept help, but to have to ask for it,
Yeah.
Not allowed to leave. I'm not I can go from my bed or the couch and that's it. I was astonished. My ex-boyfriend, my ex-fiance, the guy I was going to marry and then didn't, was there every day. And he was, just keeping everything going. He was bringing groceries over. He was cooking meals. We were sitting on the couch watching TV together. He was keeping me company. He would, we'd kind of sneak outside and take a walk every once in a while. My dad and I had, kind of a strained relationship at the time. I wouldn't say that we were, adversarial or anything like that. But, we definitely weren't at our best at the time. And he showed up every single day just to make sure that I was okay. He just showed up every day when he hadn't always when I was younger. And, to have his presence back in my life was such a gift. And we've been super close ever since.
Wow.
My mom was in complete shock, and it eventually wore off. And before I knew it, she was like the world's greatest cheerleader, because it was, this is going to happen. Like, I know that, I know that you don't have great news to deal with right now, but this baby's going to be okay. We can't think of any other outcome than this baby being okay. Mm-hmm. She's decorating rooms and buying clothes and getting all this stuff done. And you can't help but just get caught up in that a little bit, even though in the back of your mind, it's like, I don't know if this is really helping, but,
right.
But it did.
So you talked a little bit about your emotional reaction was just to completely avoid it all altogether and just pretend like it wasn't happening.
It was bizarre. And, I can kind of almost understand now why, you hear these stories about teenage girls having a baby at the prom. You don't want to believe that this is happening to you. If it had been an unplanned pregnancy with a partner, that's one thing. But, this is pretty much an instance of date rape. What do you do with that?
So what did you struggle with most? Both before the car accident, when you were pretending like it wasn't real, and after, when you started accepting that this is how life really is?
I don't know that it was really even a struggle before the car accident, because, and I would hesitate to say pretending. I made this the new reality,
Right.
Not happening. So, while I was depressed and, not in the best mental or physical health, I don't know that in a weird way, I wouldn't say that it was really a struggle, right? Because you've developed this alternate reality to function in.
Right. That makes sense.
Afterward, it was two things. A, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle going through all this and having this baby die? How in the world am I going to have the strength to deal with this?
Absolutely.
And B, if the baby makes it, what am I going to do? I don't have a job. I'm living at home. I've got nothing to support this baby with.
Yeah, this is not how this is supposed to happen.
Not at all. This is not the life I ordered. What the heck, God?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm feeling my cortisol levels going up just thinking about being in that situation. That's just so stressful.
Yeah.
Choosing to live bravely and authentically is important to me, and I'm guessing it's something you are interested in too. You can learn more about my story at my blog, BeckyLMcCoy.com. Stop by and sign up to receive my monthly newsletter. It includes all sorts of interesting tidbits. and family updates. Check the show notes for details. Hey, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying Stories of Unfolding Grace, please share it with your friends and subscribe in iTunes. If you leave a rating, it'll help other listeners to find the podcast. Thanks so much for being on this journey with me. I'm using this definition of grace that good things happen during bad, difficult times. So talk more about the grace that you saw.
I think it was realizing that, all these people really love you. They love you. They want to help you. They came together in just unbelievable ways. There wasn't, by the time this was all said and done, we had everything we needed. I was able to find a job. It turned out that I had a cousin who ran an in-home daycare, and she just happened to have a spot for an infant. I mean, so many things just came together because my family put the word out. Somebody needs, Heather needs help.
So the baby did make it.
Yes, she did. She completely smashed the odds. She was born 3 weeks early. She was 7 pounds, 9 ounces. She was just this little round, perfect, healthy, happy baby. I mean,
yeah. And now tell everybody what she's doing now.
She's a freshman at the University of Delaware. She is an exercise science major. She's absolutely killing it in every way. We're amazingly close. I mean, she's just, look, this kid pretty much saved my life.
Yeah.
Whether I wanted her to or not, this kid saved my life. I
totally get that. Both my kids, I feel the same way. So Caleb, my son, was born 8 hours before my dad passed away.
Right. I remember.
And Libby, my daughter, was born a month after my husband passed away. And I don't know how I would have handled life if I hadn't had them as newborns during those seasons.
Yeah. I mean, she completely redefined who I was and what I was capable of doing. And I mean, she was just everything, a self-confidence booster.
Mm-hmm. We call them therapy babies.
Oh my gosh, this poor kid.
Yeah.
She is the textbook definition of a therapy baby.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
She made everything right. I can't, from the minute they put me in her arms, just everything fell into place.
That's great.
Obviously, every day has not been perfect over the past 19 years, but it's so much better than it was before she got here.
How do you see that you've chosen to live bravely and authentically as a result of your life changing directions?
Well, I think with kids, I don't think you really have any choice but to be authentic, right? I mean,
this is true.
You don't have time to put on a story.
Right.
But, aside from hiding pregnancy for 7 months, I've never really been one to kind of put a face on anything. I think, I'm more or less of what you see is what you get kind of person. And I think even more so since she came along, I think having her made me realize that, you're fine. You're fine. It's okay.
I really strongly feel like each person's story, whatever their truth is what God has for someone to hear. That there's somebody that needs to hear that. So the last question is, what would you say to encourage someone who's in a similar situation? Maybe they find themselves pregnant. Maybe they found themselves without a job. Life just does not look like how they wanted it to look.
Don't give up. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. Life, and I've seen this in so many situations, not just this one, just life has a way of working itself out. And I think maybe even that's kind of my personal definition of grace, right? I mean,
yeah,
opportunities and grace and even miracles, they happen. You can't force it, but you can't give up on it either. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because you tried the pretending like it would go away thing, and that didn't work.
A reasonable solution to this problem.
Right. Yeah, that didn't work. So you
just, accept it for what it is. I think anytime I've had a real struggle, whether it was this situation eventually, or my divorce, or, losing a job, or anything along those lines, it's take stock. What's happening?
Yeah.
What do you need? What can you do to get there? I think the best piece of advice I could give was something my best friend told me as we were both going through divorces at the same time. And that was, the only way through it is through it. You can't avoid it.
Yep.
You can't stop it. Sometimes you can't even fix it. You just have to do it.
Well, thank you for sharing about this story. I know that there will be people who can be encouraged and find comfort that there's somebody else who's dealt with something similar. Mm-hmm. And before we go, I have a couple fun questions for you.
Sure.
That I'm surprising you with. So the first is, what are you loving right now? What's getting you really excited?
This is a big part of it. I just started my blog at the beginning of December. I mean,
okay.
I'm on maternity leave. This is something I've always wanted to do. God knows I've got enough material to draw on in my life between 4 kids and a second marriage that's, brand new, and a new house that needs to be completely revamped. Just the insanity of my day-to-day life. Somebody's got to find this interesting.
I know. I always walk around and I'm like, where's my camera crew? Because somebody has got to see this.
Absolutely. You can't make this up.
Yeah.
So just this whole new experience, and then, just opening myself up to the opportunities. I mean, this podcast, and I had a friend of mine who said, I really love your blog. Can I share it with my Facebook friends? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Please.
Yeah. I mean, and my subscribers nearly tripled in a couple hours. I mean, it's so
exciting.
It really is super exciting. Yeah. And I'm really learning that, so many wonderful things happen in your life if you just open yourself up to them.
Yeah, totally. Because if you don't
in the past couple of months, I've met new friends. I've, really worked on my writing game. I've, gotten this opportunity. There's just, it's a lot of fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So this is what I'm loving.
Okay. Awesome. The next question is, what is your favorite meal or snack or food right now?
Let's see. Is it edible?
Right.
I'm a foodie.
Awesome.
I'll eat or try just about anything. But I think if I have to really put a finger on it, growing up in an Italian family, there is absolutely nothing that a bowl of spaghetti and red sauce cannot fix.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep.
I can identify with that. When you grew up in an Italian family, when somebody or one of your kids is upset and you're like, well, do you need a snack?
Yeah, absolutely. I do this all the time.
Yeah. And then I'm like, no, that's not the healthy response.
This is how Italians fix things. Everything is fixed with food.
Right. Yeah. Which also creates other problems, but
I refuse to believe that.
Yeah. More denial. You're in more denial.
Exactly.
What are you doing right now to take care of yourself?
Oh my gosh. There's not a whole lot of time for me right now. But I think the writing is the thing. I think just taking, 30 minutes where I can to kind of take stock of what's going on around me and write about it, is really kind of my self-care right now.
Yeah.
It helps me kind of look at what's going on. And, I think the second you put those words out and have a chance to look at them objectively, you can start working on fixing them.
Yeah, it's very clarifying, I find, for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just write and reflect. And even if I never share the words with anyone, just to take that moment to take stock.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny. I actually we've been in our house a year and we're still unpacking. And I found a box of all of my old journals, and I went through a few of them last night and just thought, good Lord, like, you have come such a long way. I mean, these are so many of the problems you've overcome and how you've developed. And, life is awesome right now. And it's kind of a result of working through those issues,
Yep. So what are you doing to be brave right now?
Gosh, I think it all comes back to writing, right?
That's okay.
Just putting your personal life out there is, for anyone to read, is really kind of scary. I'm coming here with this story that, a lot of my coworkers and friends and my husband's friends are going to hear for the first time. I mean, wow, are people going to talk to me when this is all over?
Right, because it was safely hiding 20 years in the past.
Yeah, exactly. And look, like, he knows the story.
Right.
I've got dear friends who know this, but it's going to be out there, and I can't undo that.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty big. But after having Kate and after being divorced, and there's really not that much that scares me right now. I've stared down the demons now, and whether it's mountain biking or blogging or taking a new job, or nothing can be worse than what I've been through.
Yeah.
I think I've really become pretty fearless as a result of all of this.
Wow. Well, thank you. I'm still just soaking everything in.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you decided to be brave and share your story.
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share it.
In the next episode, I talk with my friend Emily about her service in the Peace Corps and struggle with unemployment.
She was going off to serve in the Peace Corps and showed a promotional video of what it was, and I saw that, and they showed the basic, okay, you go to live in a country for 2 years as a volunteer helping in development projects, and then you share in friendship, international friendship. And they showed a bunch of pictures of the African savannah and all the projects you get to do, and I saw it, so yeah, that seems awesome. Why doesn't everybody do that?
If you're interested in sharing your story of unfolding grace, head to my blog, beckylmccoy.com, and click on the submissions button. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks again for joining me. I'm really looking forward to next week.